Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I'm reminded of an incident a couple of years back. They sent a football-shaped instrument to the International Space Station. It was called the Astronaut's Companion. What was its job? It was to accompany the astronaut. So it had all the information. It was powered by AI, built by one of the topmost companies in the world. So the device was opened up by the astronaut. Astronaut wanted the device to say, please play some music. So since all the information was about the astronaut and his interests were fed in, the music was played. He asked for the second song. The second song was also played. The third song. Thereafter, the astronaut wanted the AI program to be quiet and asked them to shut up. At that point of time, the AI program actually warned the astronaut that you are being rude to me and you need to be careful of how you need to talk to me. Now, that was a documented incident. They shut down the particular device. The matter was reported to the ground station, but we didn't get much kind of attraction. But this episode told us that if we are thinking just as artificial intelligence as a computing paradigm, we are mistaken. I think artificial intelligence goes far beyond. If I look at it from a legal standpoint, it talks about cognitive intelligence of computer systems. But a lot of questions come up, and we haven't even begun thinking about these questions. Let me begin the fundamental question. Is AI legal? Can somebody answer that question? Possibly nobody, because we are not yet even clear as to how we are going to legally define artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? Is it a computer? Is it a computer system? Is it a computer network? Is it a computer resource? Is it just data or information in the electronic form? No, it's far beyond. It's a cognitive intelligence that is emerging as a result of an interplay of all these elements that we use in the day-to-day ecosystem of electronic format. So very quickly we'll have to start realizing that artificial intelligence is beginning to throw up large number of legal policy and regulatory issues. And they will need to be addressed now. So if you're using artificial intelligence in a smart city and you don't have a legal framework, you're actually running into trouble. Why? Because you're jumping from the fire onto the frying pan. Because you don't know how you'll be able to legally regulate the same. And the good news is that across the world, countries are roughly on similar levels of progress of development, except some countries are far beyond. Let me give you an example. 1st of January 2020, much before the pandemic began, the state of Illinois in the United States of America actually implemented an artificial intelligence law. They called it the Artificial Intelligence Video Interview Act to 2020. It was a very, very limited kind of legislation. You see, in India, you get so many people for interviews, so you sift through the interviews, then you select the candidates. In America, they don't have this time. So they use AI for purposes of sifting through the video interviews that the applicants would record on their devices and send. So this particular law is to that effect that if you are an employer and you're using artificial intelligence for purposes of sifting or analyzing the video interviews that other potential employees are sending to you, you'll have to warn them. You'll have to take their consent. You'll have to put in various reasonable security practices and procedures. So very, very limited point, but nonetheless, that became the first law that the world came to know on artificial intelligence. And still, the jury is not yet fully spoken about it. Why? Because countries are confused. Shall we ask or shall we legally recognize artificial intelligence as a legal entity? Can it be a person in the eyes of law? If so, does it have the capacity to take decisions? Yes, it has the capacity to take decisions. Is that capacity legally within the ambit of human capacity? Some people may say it's much beyond. Some people may say it's much below the human capacity. There's one survey that tells us that by 2062, artificial intelligence is going to supersede human intelligence. I believe that tipping point is going to come much earlier, not 2062, given the developments that are happening. So when this developments are happening, there are problems. I give you yet another case study. Here, again, a documented case study on the internet. In one jurisdiction, in one laboratory, a group of scientists are experimenting on two separate AI algorithms, on two separate machines, which are not connected to each other. And after some time, they realize that these two artificial intelligence algorithms start communicating with each other in a manner, in a language that humans don't know. So they shut down the programs and things stopped happening. But the chances of artificial intelligence going rogue or deviant is very high. So the fundamental question that every stakeholder today says is, how can we actually go ahead and try to ensure human control on artificial intelligence? We all want artificial intelligence, great. We want to ensure it ultimately strengthens and benefits humans, wonderful. But how do we ensure that it does not supersede our intelligence? Or how do we ensure that it does not veto human intelligence? Let's give a hypothetical example. Countries are flooded with new populations, right? So if AI was to be asked how to control the population of a country, the AI will say, well, let's randomly kill 1,000 people. That's one good way of reducing population. That may not be ethical, that may not be moral, but that's nonetheless still an option. The problem is the artificial intelligence doesn't have human values, the human foresight, the human vision. So its ability to interpret and take decisions is only limited and handicapped by the big data sets that are fed at the time of analyzing AI. Why? Because if your data sets are deficient or ineffective or tainted or manipulated, then the decisions are also going to be tainted or manipulated. No wonder we began to see a massive increase of bias in artificial intelligence. In the West, they found out in America that whenever they are actually implementing artificial intelligence, the AI is actually going ahead and favoring the whites and not favoring the not whites. And they found out the reason for this bias, because all the data that they were feeding into artificial intelligence was ultimately based on whites data, people with white skin. No wonder the algorithms began thinking that the white skin is the default correct skin, and people who do not have white skin ought not to be treated on the same platform. Now, obviously, it's an anomaly, but that's happening. So, while all this is happening, countries are still confused. China, on the other hand, is quietly going forward and coming up with numerous legal frameworks so as to promote artificial intelligence from a legal standpoint. On top of it, the European Union in March 2021 have now come up with a draft artificial intelligence law, which has been a collation of legal principles. Now, prior to March 2021, different organizations were mushrooming with different collation of ethical principles. What ethical principles should AI follow? So we had about more than 150 odd ethical principles that got collated by different organizations. But then these are ethical principles, right? Whether AI should follow them or not follow them is primarily not a legal question. It's a moral question. It's an ethical question. Now, it will only become a legal question once there will be a legal framework in this regard. But countries don't yet have a legal framework. But now, fortunately, this AI law or this bill that's been put up for public comments by the European Union, I believe is the first concrete step forward in this direction for regulating artificial intelligence. There'll be no denying the fact that we will have to very quickly start legally recognizing artificial intelligence. Because without that, it'll be hard to find out. Now, whether you take artificial intelligence as a person or whether you take it as an agent, that's something that can be defined as. But whether you will equate artificial intelligence with humans, whether it's okay, whether it's not so okay, the jury is still yet out. We don't exactly know. But nonetheless, experimentation has begun. So when we talk about smart cities, two case studies is what I want to give you. Number one, in China, in the city of Hangzhou, they've come up with an internet court in China. That court is only on the internet. And in that court, they have started using artificial intelligence for administration of justice. That's one documented case study. From the east, I go on to the west, Estonia. In Estonia, they've come up with an artificial intelligence court where they've actually said that a particular AI algorithm will be the judge. So all commercial matters up to a particular limit, about say $10,000, will be heard not by a human judge, but by an artificial intelligence algorithm. If you're not satisfied with that, no problem, then you can go and appeal to a human judge. But that's one particular way they've actually begun of how they want to go ahead and cut down the arrears and also fasten the process of administration of justice. So going forward, a lot of work needs to be done, but I find in India, we are doing nothing. And that's disappointing primarily because the work on AI is massively happening. And when I look at legal frameworks, I'm even at a bigger loss. 21 years back, India enacted its cyber law, the Information Technology Act 2000. A law that did not have artificial intelligence in mind. It was only a sectoral law focused on promoting electronic commerce and electronic governance. Come Mumbai Attacks 28, 2008, and we found the IT Act being amended. But then also even in the amendments in 2008, nothing came across which could have an impact upon AI. And you can't blame the lawmakers, right? 2008, nobody was talking about artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence, which actually began in the early 50s, till now has been steadily making a lot of progress. But the kind of progress that we have seen in the last 1 decade is mind-boggling, and which only tells us that as a nation, we have to be prepared. Today, India is confused. Should it legally recognize artificial intelligence as a person? Is it a company? Is it an agent? Is it a principal? Is it a trust? What is it? Can I sue artificial intelligence? So you are a company, you are using artificial intelligence, and as a result of your usage of AI, you come to some wrong decision. And as a result of that wrong decision, I get a wrongful loss. Whom do I sue? Do I sue the company? Do I sue AI? Now those are fundamental questions that India has not yet applied its mind to. Very quickly we'll have to come up with legal frameworks, because ultimately the fundamental question will be, we will have to come up with legal liability principles for regulating AI. Now, I can't send AI to jail. At best, AI is an artificial intelligence algorithm. It's a computer program. I can't send it to jail. The maximum I can do, I can have it dismantled as a state agency or an actor. But I can't send it to jail. Whom do I send to jail? It has to be the person behind the AI who has to be sent to jail, which means the creator of the artificial intelligence algorithm will be the most fundamental element who will have to be addressed vis-a-vis liability. And it's not that usage of AI will be all hunky-dory and it will be all smooth as silk. It's not going to happen. It's like a learning experience. As and when we are using AI in different functions of smart cities, we are bound to find a lot of legal framework issues. As of now, as of end of September 2021, when I talk with you, the only tools that India currently has is the Information Technology Act, where artificial intelligence can at best be brought under the broad definition of a computer. And that being so, then come the fundamental issues. Who's going to make artificial intelligence more secure? Because AI is now becoming both a friend and a foe. AI is being used both for committing cyber crimes and cybersecurity breaches, and also for regulating cybercrime and for preventing cybersecurity breaches. No wonder when I go to the darknet, I find a number of these new websites. And these websites are advertising their cybercrime as a service powered by artificial intelligence. So AI is now being used by the darknet players for the purposes of delivering cybercrime as a service. That will have to be appropriately regulated. I think a lot of work needs to be done. And as I believe each of the Indian smart cities get into fruition and a ground reality, and as we increasingly start focusing on AI, we will have to start developing the legal frameworks and principles concerning the same. One option is that let's reinvent the wheel. I don't believe in that. I believe it's best to identify what's been done globally and then customize them. Mere cut and paste would not really help. So let's examine what has been developed by the European Union. Let's look at the kind of practical experience of states like Illinois in the United States of America, and then come up with our own customized approach on what and how AI should be legally regulated. That, I think, has to be topmost priority. And ultimately, humans must also be straddled with duties vis-a-vis AI. It's not that I'm going to push this button and AI is going to come into effect. No, it takes a lot of time, effort, energy, a lot of big data sets. Now, somewhere down the line, this AI becomes a very fertile target for cyber criminals. And coming of COVID-19, we've already seen the golden age of cybercrime emerging. Cybercrime has been with us since the advent of the internet, 50 years back. But the last 1.5 years, the kind of phenomenal growth in cybercrime, its manifestations, its avatars, its economic impact is mind-boggling. The last year, 2020, we just, as a world, only lost $6 trillion thanks to cybercrime. That's not enough. This year, by the end of 2021, we are expected to lose more than $8 trillion thanks to cybercrime. And that is constantly going to grow up. Next year, it's going to be more than $10 trillion US dollars. So in a scenario like this, it's but natural to expect that the cyber security of AI algorithms is going to be constantly breached by state, non-state actors, by cyber criminals and the like. And therefore, a lot of focus will have to be done on how the cyber security of AI algorithms can be effectively protected and preserved, and what kind of responsibility vis-a-vis cyber security needs to be specifically given to the human actors who are behind the development and the further effective functioning of AI. Those are some fundamental questions that I think are currently arising. A lot of work needs to be done, but I think it's a very exciting moment that we've actually begun our journey. The very fact is, there's an old Indian saying, "Jahan se jago, wahin se savera samjho." I think let's wake up from now. Let's consider this as the morning of our day, and let's start working on how we can shall I say, in a constructive manner, go ahead and legally enable AI. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Pavan.